Greetings, ladies and reptiles. This is Jabron of the AlloClaw Productions, and welcome to a talk about Dinosaur Battlegrounds. Now, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be talking about Dinosaur Battlegrounds because in the last top 5 most anticipated dinosaur games, which is my most popular video on my channel right now, people have been trying to tell me to change the music and whatnot, and so I will. And my songs that I'll be making with the music program that I'm using right now, can't really tell you what it is really, because then there will be a lot of controversy and and like which one's better, like Magic's or FL Studio is better or anything. Just because I'm not gonna tell you what program I'm using just because of that specific controversy. But without further ado, let's get started on the subject at hand. So, Dinosaur Battlegrounds. It's pretty much a game about exploring an entire world as a dinosaur, wondering what you would feel like 65 million years ago as a dinosaur. Even though I'm not really into the whole 60 million years crap, but but still, it's dinosaurs. What better could you expect? So you can experience a prehistoric Earth, and like in a recreated 3D world, so that way you can fight, survive, reach the top. It's basically a dinosaur simulation game, but with some survival elements to it. They didn't exactly put in any description of it being an RPG. All it is going to be like a simulator, like Dinosaur Simulator or something like that. So it's going to be like a realistic dinosaur game with a lot of stuff added to it, like a lot of features, a lot of dinosaurs, and not only that, a lot of things going on for the game. I mean, and you'll find out what I mean by that in just a moment, in a few minutes, because I'm going to be talking about other things about this game as well. Now, as you know, most of you who've already, what should we call it? If you're watching this and you've already, like, pledged to Dinosaur Battlegrounds, then you're all good. But for those of you who didn't, I highly recommend you do, because the creator, Frank Denoda himself, and a few other developers that he has working on the game with him, are very low on funds to try and get this game out there, because I mean they haven't even reached their $15,000 goal, because the best they could do on Kickstarter, even though they're successful, was only hit over $11,000. So I mean, you could still pledge to them. I have no idea how much they have now. So I'll leave, the link is in the description, and yeah. So there's gonna be a whole bunch of things added if you pledge, and you will get a lot of rewards if you pledge for the game. Now, the reason why I'm saying I highly recommend you back this game is because, one, the Orion project for the Orion Prelude game has been cancelled, and we may never see it again. And I don't want the same thing. I'm pretty sure nobody wants to have the same thing happen to this game, Dinosaur Battlegrounds. So yeah, it's gonna be a little bit of a pain. It's gonna be an entire disaster if this game gets cancelled. So, what dinosaurs are in the game? We actually have no idea yet. But as far as the screenshots go, it appears to have some form of Allosaurus of some description in some of them, which I actually like, because Allosaurus is one of my most favorite dinosaurs of all time. And from the Megalodon images that I'm seeing right now, that you guys probably can't see, actually, no, you won't see, because this isn't good. I can't record my websites and whatnot. But as far as I can see from like megalodons and underwater images that I can see, you can also play as marine reptiles and other forms of prehistoric animals. And let's see, but the point of the whole game is to play a dinosaur and explore an entire world, a vast world. And pretty much, I mean, as far as the developer went on about how big the map is, it's pretty much gonna cover the entire United States, as far as I know. So yeah. And as far as I'm seeing from the images on their not on their website, but in the media website, the images, the game is looking outstanding. It's looking to be like the greatest looking game of all time. I mean, I have no idea what engine they're using to make this game, but something tells me it has to do with something like either Frostbite engine or CryEngine or any like engine that makes the game look really good. But something tells me it's most likely the CryEngine because the CryEngine makes a lot of good looking games. So yeah. But so the developers are very low on their funds, and their ultimate goal is at the very least $500,000 plus. So if you really like dinosaurs and you want to have this game or want this game or something, I highly recommend you go pledge to them right now. The pledge is still going on, so I highly recommend you pledge to the game, and so that way the game will come out and be successfully polished. Because in this state that their game is right now, it's probably gonna be a little bad. But because I mean, let's face it, not a lot of good games. I mean, potentially good games are good because a lot of them seem to just... A lot of the games that have been put out there have seemed to just turn out really bad because either they're a Kickstarter failed project or their stretch goals were never met. Now that's a big problem. Which is why I highly recommend you go pledge to Dinosaur Battlegrounds, because if you do, I can't guarantee it, but you won't be sorry. That's all I can say about that. But so that way, like, the more you pledge, the less of a bad game this game will be, because it's a dinosaur game. It's gotta be good. So like, and it's gonna be one of the first open world dinosaur games to ever come out. Well, apart from the Stomping Land, but this is a dinosaur game that allows you to be a dinosaur and actually explore as a dinosaur and do whatever you want, like eat things and just like explore as long as you watch your hunger or thirst or anything like that. And the game is phenomenally looking good from what I can tell from the images that I'm looking at right now, but it's gonna be really good. And the textures on the feathers, they just look phenomenal. They look very phenomenal. I'll leave the link in the description for the media website, so that way you could go check it out. But yeah. So people have been asking, will this game come out in March? Now the same kind of controversy went on about the Stomping Land and if that game was going to come out in March, but it turns out it wasn't going to. This game is kind of has the same factor, but it's not as controversial because no one really bothered and mostly focused on the Stomping Land. But this game, Dinosaur Battlegrounds, it's still in its closed beta state. I mean, well, and by closed beta I mean it's still being developed, and the developer said that there was going to be tech demos released, but we have no idea when they're going to be released. So it would be nice if the developers said exactly when the tech demos were released. So we have no idea yet. We have no absolute clue yet. So, but other than that, we gotta expect that the game, well, I don't know. All I could say right now, other than the fact that I'm gonna be talking about a lot of stuff in just a minute, is that the dinosaur games, good dinosaur games, haven't been coming out lately, and the best one of the dinosaur games currently, besides the ones that are gonna come out, like Jurassic Park Operation Genesis, like Warpath Jurassic Park, Battle of Giants, things like that. Those are good dinosaur games, but what people really want is an open world style dinosaur game, and that's what this game is trying to fulfill, or at the very least is fulfilling at this day and age. But they're still very behind, and they need support. Like I said, and I'm going to say this a lot, go pledge to them now, so that way the game will suck less. Because a lot of people say, well, not a lot of people say, but very few people say that you can't expect a game to be good, because when you pledge to a game, all it really is just a promise. So there's no guarantee that a game isn't going to suck because it's been like successful on Kickstarter and whatnot. So yeah, we have no idea whether the game's gonna suck or not, but we're definitely hoping that the game doesn't suck. So that way the game's gonna be phenomenal. But for the most part, the game is looking phenomenal just by the images. Like I said, the link's in the description. But a very controversial thing happened for like games such as Battlefield 4, Red something tactical, or that tactical game Takedown, Red Takedown or something like that. That game looked phenomenal and played phenomenal in its beta state, but when it was released, it was just turned into crap. So we're hoping that this game doesn't suck, doesn't do the same thing, and I'm pretty sure it's not going to, because the developers, like, you can tell that whether a game's going to be good or not based on the developer's personality or hopes or goals or things like that, like their attitude towards it or anything like that, or like if they want the game to be successful. Like the reason many games kind of do suck is because, one, many people who've made bad games haven't played good games, or two, they're procrastinating a lot and their games aren't going to be very good because of that. Or what was the last part? Some of the games that have been released by developers, some of the developers had bad attitudes about it. Bad attitudes about the game being good at all or doing anything. So, like, if something messed up and the developer would just be like, oh, let's give up and let's just throw the game out there just so we can make a quick buck. That's not the kind of attitude developers should have. Developers need to be professional about developing their game and talking to their fans about it. And that's exactly what Frank Denoda is doing right now, except for the part where he's talking about, like, next week, because he didn't really specifically say on how good, like, or when the tech demos were going to be released. So it was supposed to be on March, but as far as I know, I'm not seeing any tech demo to download or play at all. So yeah, there's that. But let's talk about the dinosaur models themselves. The dinosaur models look absolutely phenomenal. They are extremely detailed. They are just absolutely amazing. Like, it's just awesome. I can't really put it in other words other than awesome, amazing, phenomenal, and just radical, or however you want to say it. But as far as I'm looking at some of the images, the water looks absolutely phenomenal. The depth of field looks absolutely amazing, and there's a whole lot of texture detail, except for some of the part glitches that they're gonna fix, and and it just looks, it's just a very phenomenal game at the very least at this point. Like at this point, this game is like, this game is screaming for potential right now, and it's already getting there at this point, but it still hasn't reached its stretch goals. I'm going to be saying this a lot in this video. Go pledge to them right now. But anyways, the game is still looking very good, and Frank Denota is doing a very good job. And if you're Frank Denota and you're watching this right now, thank you for trying so hard for this game. It's really good. I've pledged myself. I've pledged about, like, say, $120. Well, I was meaning to pay 100, but it ended up being 120. But yeah. So yeah, Frank Denota, thank you very much for paying attention to this video, and I have pretty much ideas for what the game should have. Like, I know Frank Denota and his team have a whole lot going for some ideas, but I have a very good idea just because I'm a little bit worried on how the combat is going to be handled in this game. So I'm really hoping that the developers listen to this or watch this video, so that way there's gonna be a lot of explanation coming from this video from me personally about how they should go about the combat. I mean, I'm not an expert at game design, but they should at least get an idea from me for how the game should play out in terms of combat. Now, like in some dinosaur movies, you know how some dinosaurs do some sort of, I mean, they already have the idea for, like, a territorial stance, like, different sort of, postures, like an attack posture, like an offensive posture or a defensive posture for, like, territorial battles and whatnot. But how they should go about the combat itself, it should just be, like, if you strike, like, it should be realistic to where it's just, like, you should do, like, depending on which attack you do, it does a lot of damage, and the combat needs to be fluid. Take a game like, what's a good game with good combat? Take combat such as Dark Souls, for example. That combat is very fluid and realistic in terms of like the way the combat is made and played out. But now, I'm not saying this game should be as difficult as Dark Souls, but what I'm saying is that this game should have a challenge in terms of combat and the combat system. So how the combat system should play out, that I may have said 3 times, the combat system should play out in terms of, like, the way you attack, the way you grab your enemies with your mouth as a T-Rex or whatnot, and, like, bashing your enemies with your heads if you're like a Pachycephalosaurus or a Stygimoloch or something like that, or Carnotaurus even. But you could still try to pull that off with the T-Rex or any other dinosaur, like the sauropods. And if you want to play, I mean, if you're planning, like, if the developers are planning on putting, like, pterodactyls you could play as in the game, there should be at least a very good fluid combat in terms of, like, air combat. Like, I really don't know how to explain that one. That's something someone's gonna have to put in the comments down below on how the combat should be in terms of flying as a pterodactyl or whatnot, as any kind. But anyways, yeah, the combat in Dinosaur Battlegrounds should go like this. The game should have a very fluid combat system to the point where it's just like a hack and slash sort of fashion, I guess. I don't know, but it has to be like a realistic one. But it's like, it can't be like games such as Vanquish or Metal Gear Rising's combat or Kingdoms of Amalur. I mean, maybe Kingdoms of Amalur might be a good solution for in terms of combat, but you should. I mean, if the developers are watching, you should listen to this. None of us want to see a strategy game made out of this game, and none of us want to see a stationary combat system or a JRPG combat system like Final Fantasy, for example. And none of us want to see a now, I'm not saying this as an offense, but none of us, I mean, let's face it, no one really wants to have a game where it's like an MMO-based game where it's just like you're stationary and you choose these different skills to attack and you have to click them or use a button combination or whatnot. What you should do is have like combos for, well, not really combos, but like different bites or even whacks from the tail or stomping on things or even trying to do like fatal moves like for realism in terms of combat. Now, I really hope the developers know what I mean by this, because if not, someone's gonna have to put in the comments on how they should go about the combat. But yeah, what else? What was I gonna talk about? Like what? There's the features that they have, like the simulation features. There's going to be some really good AI, as far as I can tell. Robust AI featuring the most in-depth and unique simulation featuring communication with other dinosaurs through body language, expressions, and different moods. And aggression levels as well, submissive and dominant controls. Like, the AI is going to be, as far as I can tell, it's going to be a phenomenal AI based on the game. Now, AI is like one of the hardest things in game design to do, and that's something I know based on some game design program that I used before called UDK, which is Unreal Development Kit. So they should definitely put their time. Well, I'm pretty sure they're putting their time right now into the AI, because a lot of the problem with so many games is some of the AI is not very great, not very good at the very least. But because AI is one of the most important things when it comes to immersion in gaming, like especially when it's a dinosaur game. But let's see. Now, it doesn't necessarily say, because this is gonna be a dinosaur simulation game. There's gotta at least be some health, hunger, and thirst and whatnot. Because let's face it, a good dinosaur game has got to have those things. So yeah, there's got to be some description. Now, as far as I can tell from some of the stats, like this image of a UI right here. As far as I can tell, there's like a happiness mode, a confidence mode, or a fear mode. Like, but that's just a rough example of just some of the features. That's not gonna result in the final game, but you should get the idea of at least what I'm talking about. So what I'm hoping they do with this game is make it realistic, but not to the point where it's just too hard for people to get into. Now, what they should do is make it so that way, like a tutorial system to where it's easy for people to get into the game. Like, the controls should be somewhat simple, but not too complicated, like Armored Core, because those controls are, oh, they're so complicated. But and some of the dinosaurs, if you plan on, like, if the developers are watching this and they plan on adding more dinosaurs, based on how much they get pledged, like I said, go pledge to them right now, so that way they can add more dinosaurs to the game. Like, if they reach their, stretch goal of, $15,000, they should at least add more dinosaurs. Like, there's so many dinosaurs. I pretty much believe that they need to have pretty much all of the dinosaurs, because it's gonna be like one of the best dinosaur games of all time when it comes out. At least I hope so, and I'm pretty sure many of you do hope so. So if they reach their goal, however, of 500,000, they're gonna do their best, or at least do better. I mean, well, I'm just hoping that what they mean by their best, in terms of like them doing like a phenomenal job on the game. But I just hope like, where was I? If they reach their $500,000 goal, the game should be at least really good. And by that I mean they're going to put a whole lot of work into the game, like non-stop, so that way, to the point where the game could be better than most AAA games. And this is an indie development project, done, I mean, by a few people, I think, but what I'm hoping right now is that the game doesn't suck, and that it doesn't turn out to be as crappy as, like, say, Day One Gary's Incident. So, I mean, the game looks phenomenal. Let's just hope it plays phenomenal. Thank you very much for watching. This has been Jabron of the AlloClaw Productions, bringing you some somewhat news and information about Dinosaur Battlegrounds. And I will see you all next time, ladies and reptiles.